Hi there, welcome to the third Paul's Problem Space, and today I'm looking at the UX research repository by Gitlab, and it's called UXR Insights. What's interesting about this is that this repository is using the Gitlab platform itself to store the raw data and the insights that are collected by researchers. I did have a crack at looking at this a little bit earlier, and there was a lot that I missed because I ignored a lot of the stuff in the left-hand menu thinking, continuous integration is not going to be used by this repository. And turns out I was wrong. Some of the stuff that I ignored, I should not have. So this is version 2. So let's have a look at the home page here. What we've got is our usual Git structure, where we have our commits at the top, our branches, how recently people did stuff, files. There aren't many files in here. So when I looked at this the first time, I assumed that research and insights would be stored in this file structure at the top there. But they're not. They're actually stored as issues, but we'll come to that. So there's one really important thing that I learned from my years working as a designer / developer on projects with lots of real developers. And that is when we're looking at someone else's code or looking at a library or whatever, you read the docs first. That's the number one thing that you do. If you ask someone a question about the work that they've done without reading the docs first, they will get mad at you and say, read the docs. So I learned that documentation is a really big thing, and the README file is just the first thing that you look at. And now I've learned to get really, really angry if I open up a README file and there's nothing in there. However, I have worked on projects where I've gone to the README file and there is some stuff in there, such as how to set it up in Docker, or the dependencies that you need to have, or whatnot, and stuff doesn't work, and you approach the developer and they say, oh no, all that stuff is in the wiki. So a bit of advice: if you're going to have your documentation, have it in one spot, or if you're going to have some in the README and some in the wiki, say find the stuff in the wiki. Anyway, in this case, there's nothing in the wiki, it's all in the README file. So this explains, to start off with, what it's about. It's the single source of truth for all user insights discovered by GitLab's UX researchers and product designers. User insights can be gathered in a number of different ways, including but not limited to user interviews, usability testing, surveys, card sorts, tree tests, and diary studies. Issues. Instead of reports and slide decks, we use issues to document key findings from research studies. Every issue within our insights repository contains a single insight on a particular topic. Each insight is supported with evidence, typically in the form of a video clip or statistical data. We use GitLab's related issues functionality to connect insights which were revealed during the same research study. We close issues when we have finished editing them. And next up is labels. We use labels to tag insights. They allow us to quickly and dynamically search and filter through issues to find the insights we need. As a rule of thumb, we generally tag labels with a relevant stage group, i.e. planning, securing, etc., the research type, and the area or feature, whether it's navigation or merge requests. Of GitLab, the insight relates to as a bare minimum. So I've talked about this in the past, where you need to allow researchers, when they're putting stuff in the repository, to add the bare minimum of metadata, so as not to discourage them with an onerous amount of stuff to add when they just want to plop their things in there and move on to the next project. And the research types, here are some labels: usability testing, surveys, etc., those methods. Epics. We use epics to track issues for the same research study. The epic description usually contains the research methodology used, and if we spoke with users, then we'll include any background information we have about them. We tag all epics with the UXR Insights label, so they are easily found within the gitlab.org group. I couldn't find epics in here. Maybe I will when doing this video, but I have a feeling that epics are stored higher up or at a broader level, so it's not just sitting within this project and they're accessible with anybody in the organization. Yeah, don't know where that stuff is found. And here is the directory of completed research. It's a list of all of the closed issues. Now, when I saw this the first time, I thought, okay, this is the list. I don't need to dig any further. I'm just going to click on a few of these that I think are relevant to working on the research repositories project that the React community is working on. But no. And I'm curious to see whether this list here is manually updated or whether it's automatically updated from this, which is all of the issues or research insights. One thing that I would recommend with this is changing the title here to insights are issues, or issues used as insights or something. There are a few things that I'm going to be suggesting here that are from the point of view of someone who doesn't work at GitLab, doesn't know GitLab's internal processes. I'm only working on how I understand my mental model of a research repository and my mental model of how GitLab is used. My last place of work, Symbio, used GitLab for everything, but they used it in a different way. One of the things I did talk about in the earlier version of this is what's interesting about using issues as insights is it's using the platform's functionality, GitLab's functionality, in a way that's different to how it was originally intended. And I think a lot of research repositories that are using platforms such as Confluence or Trello or Airtable or Excel are doing similar things where they're having to come up with some workarounds, sometimes really clever workarounds, to make the platform do what they want to do, to bend it to their will. And I think most people who have tried to build a research repository would have done something along these lines. So here we are. Now I've got a choice. I can either go back to that home page, look at this list of goodies, and try and find something that's relevant to the bit of the project that I'm working on currently, the research repos project, which is data and taxonomy, where I'm thinking about the terms that researchers would use when categorizing information, or how they go about finding information, the words that they might use. When looking at a list of words, how might they translate what they see to what's inside their own little internal dictionary. So I will not look at this because I tried that beforehand. I found a couple of interesting ones, but I want to come back to this issues interface because this one allows me to search and filter the results. Now, in my last video, I experienced a bout of keyword stage fright, and I might end up experiencing keyword stage fright here as well. But I'm going to try and search for, let's say keyword. If you can hear that rattling, that's windy outside. No, I haven't found anything there. Management, or information management. No, let's just try information. Cycle analytics. Help me replace typical reports with easy to understand information so I can present it to non-technical stakeholders. Okay, the structure of this title here seems to be like a bit of a user story. Like, I want to do this so that blah. Yeah, as a user, I would like to. That's different to, I'm open this up in another tab so I can do it faster. This structure here, where it's more based around the area of work, such as operations dashboard, usability testing, or general customer feedback, managing workflow. So I now don't know if these are the same things as what's here. I'm interested in that though, so I'm going to click on that. I'm going to see whether these are the same code review improvements. So I'm going to search for the exact string. No, okay. So this makes me think that, hang on, are these epics? These are epics, right. And the only reason I know that these are epics is because unless this is the title, and that's the subtitle, but I assume that these are all separate things, epics and then directory of completed research. The only reason I knew that these were epics was because in the URL, in the bottom left-hand corner, I can see that it's an epic. Right. Let's go back to our issues list. Okay. So some of these are phrased as insights, such as this one. Users are currently not using GitLab as an analytics or reporting tool. I'll view that as, this is an insight, it's a statement. And there's going to be some data to back that up. Let's have a look. Users are most likely pulling analytics for retros at the moment, or weekly at most, but don't have a standard way to report this. None of the users we spoke to use GitLab as a reporting tool. And there's some metrics to have a look at. Okay, so it's a sample size of 5. Number of users who shared this view. In the last video, or the last time I attempted to record this, there's a template for this particular insight, and I did suggest that they would say X numbers out of Y numbers shared this view, and this person's done that, so I'm glad. Anyway, yeah, so that's an insight that fits my idea of what an insight is. It's a statement. This one, help me see how my team performs so we can improve our workflow. This is more that user story, new agile parlance. So at the end of the milestone, users would like to see a breakdown on how long artifacts they use for development have spent in each possible state. Users would also like to know where each team member's time was spent. I would assume that each of those would be the actual insights. So there's a bit of a jumble. So when I'm looking at a list of insights, I would expect them to be in a consistent format. And I would expect there to be one statement and then some data to back it up, which in the first example, that was what I got. But in this other example, it was a question and then a number of insights below that. Let's try another one. Help me see how my team delivered against estimates so I can determine how successful we were during the milestone and prepare for the next. There's a lot going on in that title. Okay, once again, this one's made up of a number of insights. Success is measured by the number of closed tickets or completed deliverables. Yeah, I would see that as a separate insight. Sometimes issues are reopened and it's important to know how many times this has happened. I wouldn't call that an insight, so that seems to fit in this. I think it's like supporting information. Can I see these videos? Probably not. Yeah. Before I attempt to find something that's relevant to my project or the project I'm working on, I want to have a look at these labels, labels/tags. As part of the data and taxonomy stream of this project, we're trying to get a nice standard vocabulary and taxonomy, and an example of the variation that we're finding is, what's called a label here is called a tag elsewhere. So we're having to manage that. So that's going to be interesting. So it looks like this whole kind of stage label is deprecated. I've seen other stage names with the word deprecated, so my assumption is that they're all deprecated, and maybe I should just ignore that. The areas of work are analytics and psychoanalytics. The first time I recorded this video, I'd forgotten what the colors mean. I don't know what yellow means. So what is that? Scoped label. Issues for the managed stage of the DevOps cycle. So maybe these are replacements for these older ones. And the method was user interview. Are these all the issues? I was expecting to see way more issues/insights because there are a lot of these epics. So where issues, there's only 21 issues. Oh, these are the open issues. Okay, so these are the research projects that are currently open. Here are the closed issues, 531. All right. Okay. I wonder if I should, I wonder if my search from earlier was just searching the open ones. Let's see. Let's try labels in boards. What was the one that I actually tried to? The code review improvements. I have to type. Yeah, I'm not sure whether that search field, if that search is just searching through the closed ones or the open ones. I don't know. Anyway, let's have a look at the labels here. Oh, there's some new colors. They're working around labels. Cool. All right. That's pretty handy because I'm thinking about categorization of content. Let's go labels. What's around labels? Now the thing is, I don't know how many of these things exist. I know there's labels, navigation, merge requests. How many other ones are there? Message like filter bar. There could be hundreds. There could be 20. I don't know. We'll search for labels. Labels in issue boards. Design proposal ratings, suggested improvements, include conclusions. Let's have a look at that. think there's going to be, looking at this and having a read of some of these earlier, I think the bulk of this is around validating or proving or disproving assumptions, and they're kind of test-based, lots of testing of interfaces, giving options, seeing which ones people like more. That, for me, who was trying to find info in this discovery phase, is not particularly useful. So I probably would want to see only the user interview stuff, but I think in some of the cases here, user interviews aren't just interviewing and having listened to somebody. I think it's quite test focused. Yeah, so design proposals, yellow color and option 3 does not match the text for min. I would have called that probably usability testing or A/B testing, or option choosing. I see my definition of user interview is kind of like a structured or an unstructured, just listening, not looking at something and giving feedback on it. So what I'm doing here is clicking around, making assumptions about what these tags mean, or these labels mean. Sometimes getting it right, sometimes getting it wrong, and then having to remember. So this is similar to what happened with the last recording that I did with a different repository, where I was looking at the titles, looking at the categories that they were grouped in, looking at the summaries at the top, making assumptions, getting it wrong, gradually settling in, and finding my groove with it. So I'm at the early stages of it with this repository here, and I'm kind of confused, and I'm going to have to work to settle in. I really want to understand these tags and try and understand what some of the colors mean, but I want to know, for example, these lighter blue ones, navigation, merge request, and so forth. How many of those are there? Let's see what this label section has. So yeah, it looks like all of these ones are deprecated and they've switched to group. One of the dangerous things about relying on tags to categorize information is you could come up with a really cool taxonomy, use it for a couple of months, and then realize, oh, we painted ourselves into a corner, which I found with a fairly recent project where we were analyzing a bunch of pre-existing research and creating a repository out of that and then adding our own. There was only one tag that remained after that 1 month of work, and that tag was conflicting data. Everything else was sorted by putting things into categories. So can I, what's group label, project label, group label? Group labels have different colors. Why? I don't think that group label, they're all pretty much all group labels. So I have a feeling that this thing here is not really, people aren't really paying attention to that. How many options are available? I don't know, can I filter by color? No. Oh. Yeah, okay. So there are, how many are there? Lots and 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 lots of labels. Way too many to memorize. So if I am going to try and categorize something that I create based on a label, God help me. I think even if I was intimately familiar with how things work at Gitlab, I'm not going to remember all of these, and would probably have trouble recalling them when adding my own content or searching for content based on the label. So I am going to go back to the issues list and pretty much give up on labels to find something. I'm going to do what I did last time in the last recording and just have a look at the titles. I don't know if you've had experience with this, but when trying to encapsulate a concept with a label, that's some crazy information distillation poetry going on there that my brain can't handle. I need more words to communicate something. So let's try and find something. Let's try and find something around categories. Categories. And plurals with their IES tags. Nope. A. Levels gives me too many. It is different. The search, I mean, it kind of makes sense because you have the top level is open and then the level below is the search field. But I think most people expect that search searches the whole bunch. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so my first search was, yeah, it might have found what I wanted to find earlier. Okay, levels and issue boards, conclusions. Displaying of labels on issue boards. We have 3 proposals to declutter the issue boards a bit. So this is usability testing. This is not user interviews. Yeah, I don't think this is going to be useful for me. Yeah, separate notes. Yeah, so there's a bit of a, sometimes it's a statement, sometimes it's a question, sometimes it's a user story, sometimes it's here's some notes. Wow. Okay. And this is totally irrelevant to what I was looking for originally, but let's try and dig into this. Now, these look like the sort of notes that I would type when transcribing someone else's, or writing notes when someone else is conducting the interview. Really short statements. Maybe someone's been reviewing the video. Let's look for the word label. No, let's look for the word tag. Let's look for the word comment. Yeah, I could probably do a whole video just analyzing this notes format. There is a lot in here, and it looks really familiar, but it's a lot to go through. So I'm hoping that whoever did this has split this up into some insights. So maybe something like the manual process of finding the right person is tedious and time consuming. If there were more interviews where the participants said something along those lines, I would expect that to be an insight, with quotes from here and other interviews backing that up. So I would really love to know whether anyone has tried coming here to find research to help them get started on their new research project, or whether the main intention of this is just to have stuff stored somewhere. Like whether the research process at Gitlab is, if you've started on your new thing, you set your research goals, you have your questions and your assumptions, and you come here first and you try and find something that's relevant, which is what I have had a crack at doing now. Oh, cat. I don't know, why did that come up with my labels search? Communication in PR happens with labels. I wonder if this, some stuff from here, is in this epic. So this is the epic. Code review as a process is much more than leaving simple feedback. Right on. Oh, well, that's the same. Same objective. Okay, so can we assume that this is from the same project? Same study? Oh, it's the same date. Oh wow, there are 1,400 epics. Okay, so my earlier assumption about epics being at high level up was right. So these epics are probably everything across all projects. All right. So this epic, it has product discovery, issue, insight. Product discovery for code review. Okay, so this is not an issue. That's an insight. It's an issue for. It's an actual issue. Okay. Um, the research issue not found. Gone. Okay. Key findings. Areas for improvement. So these aren't statements. Here's a thing that needs to be looked at. Yep. Aha! This is the epic where all that stuff is stored. And this is on the same level as every other epic that, that company level epic. But they're not, because it's an epic, it's not in here. And this notes from user 6 is there a link to the relevant epic? So I can see all the other ones? Epic, yeah, okay. All right. So for me, one of the things that I'm having to get used to in this platform here is that there are insights, which are called issues, which sit within the insights project. And then everything else is an epic, and they all sit outside, and they're all on the same level. Even though this little epic here, where the insights sit in, is a child, I guess, of this, here is our main set of recommendations. Okay, so an epic can be used just to collect stuff, to have a big collection of issues. Right. So when I have a look at all of the issues, all of the closed issues, I can see, insights and statements, just notes, just stuff. So there's definitely, this is the problem with any repository, is you can set up the infrastructure and the templates all you want, but unless you're going to check or your code review everyone's everything that people add to the repository, people are just going to ignore the templates that you've created and just put whatever they want in here. So knowing that, I look at this list and think, I don't know what I'm going to get, and I don't know. I wouldn't be confident searching for stuff. Like maybe if there's let's add another tag called notes and another tag called insight. Like if these aren't going to be just insights with a particular structure, then have another tag called insight and notes, raw data, whatever you want to call it, that I could filter by. So I know that I'm coming in pretty fresh, and there wouldn't be a repository on the planet that a fresh user could get into. That's for me. I had a really good thought in my head. I'm not going to let a phone call ruin it. Any research repository is going to require some sort of onboarding process, and the more inherently apparent the instructions are, or the more easily a user can just get in there and figure it out themselves, the better. But nothing's perfect, so there has to be an onboarding or an induction stage, and chances are, if I was given a walkthrough of this, it will be super clear. But I'm not. I'm just coming in here and just hacking around, just digging through, trying to find stuff that's relevant for me. I'm a bit bummed that I didn't really find some stuff. I reckon that in here there would be some interesting information around how people manage information. But as it is currently, it's too daunting a task for me to pursue further. And I think that this repository is not really geared for those who are trying to find insights to help kickstart their research on new projects. I think this is, we've done the research, we've stored the information so that we can reference it in other communications. Like, we recommend that you don't allow the user to collapse labels because of this research. So it's like it's a platform for being able to justify arguments, which is fine. That's a perfectly valid use case, which I talked about in the first video. But currently this is not geared for discovery. Anyway, I'm going to call that person back. Sorry, this one was a little bit boring, but I hope you got some interesting bits. As I did last time, I will write up the main points so you don't have to view this whole thing. Bye.